The first defiance. The stars glittered like diamonds against the endless void as Captain Naomi Wright stood on the observation deck of the UES Vanguard. Earth's newest and most advanced warship cut through space with barely a vibration, its revolutionary quantum drive leaving only the faintest ripple in the fabric of reality. She watched as the Tau Ceti system came into view, its golden sun casting long shadows across the Vanguard's hull. "Captain, to the bridge," came the urgent voice of her XO, Commander Dmitry Volkov. Wright strode purposefully through the corridors, nodding to crew members who snapped to attention. At 42, she was young for her command but had earned it through 15 years of distinguished service. The Vanguard represented humanity's growing confidence as they expanded beyond their solar system, a protective escort for the colonies and research stations spreading through nearby star systems. When she reached the bridge, the tension was palpable. "Report," she ordered, settling into her command chair. Volkov's normally stoic face was grim. "We've lost contact with the UES Horizon. They were conducting xenobiology research in the Kepler 38 system. Their last transmission was..." He hesitated, concerning. He played the message, and a static-filled voice echoed across the bridge. "Unknown vessels approaching, massive energy signatures, they won't respond to hails, oh God, they are firing. Mayday." May? The bridge fell silent. The Horizon was a civilian research vessel with 200 of Earth's brightest minds aboard. "Set course for Kepler, for 38, Wright commanded. Maximum speed." "That will take us beyond our patrol zone," Volkov reminded her. "I'm aware, Commander. The Horizon is one of ours. We don't leave our people." The Vanguard arrived at Kepler, for 38 16 hours later. What they found was a debris field where the Horizon should have been. Twisted metal, frozen bodies, and shattered equipment drifted through the void, a grim testament to violence unleashed. "Life signs?" Wright asked, though she already knew the answer. "None, Captain," replied Lieutenant Jian Wei, the sensor officer. "Wait, detecting multiple vessels approaching from the inner system. Configuration unknown. They are massive." On the view screen, 12 ships appeared, each easily 4 times the size of the Vanguard. They were beautiful in a terrible way, sleek golden hulls adorned with what looked like crystalline structures that pulsed with internal light. They moved with precision, forming a half-circle around the human ship. "Incoming transmission," announced Communications Officer Priyaneh. On screen, Wright ordered, standing to face whatever was coming. The screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. It was humanoid but clearly not human, with iridescent copper skin that seemed to shimmer with its own inner light. Its eyes were the most striking feature, completely black with flecks of light that moved like stars in a miniature galaxy. "Primitive vessel," the alien spoke in perfect English, surprising everyone. "You trespass in the domain of the Valeian Empire. I am Grand Sovereign Drusek, divine ruler of 1,000 worlds. Your pathetic exploration ship violated sacred space and paid the price for such sacrilege." Captain Wright stepped forward. "I am Captain Naomi Wright of the United Earthship Vanguard. You murdered 200 civilians who came in peace. Under interstellar law." "Law?" Drusek interrupted with a sound like crystal chimes, apparently laughter. "We are the law. We are divinity made flesh. For 10 millennia, the Valeian Empire has ruled this sector of the galaxy. Lesser beings exist to serve us or to be cleansed from our sight." From her station, Science Officer Finn Nakamura caught Wright's attention, gesturing urgently to his console. She gave him a slight nod to continue his analysis. Drusek continued, "Your species will be given 1 solar cycle to prepare for your new role as servants. Send your leaders to Valarax Prime to pledge fealty, or we will cleanse your worlds. This is divine mercy." Wright's voice remained steady despite her rage. "We are not servants, Grand Sovereign. Humanity does not kneel to anyone, not even self-proclaimed gods." "Then you will burn," Drusek replied simply. The screen went dark. The bridge erupted in urgent conversation until Wright raised her hand for silence. "Options," she demanded. Commander Volkov spoke first. "We're outgunned and outnumbered. 12 of their capital ships against one of ours. But maybe not outmatched, interrupted Finn Nakamura. The half-Japanese, half-Irish science officer's eyes gleamed with excitement. Captain, their technology is inconsistent. Advanced, yes, but oddly static. I'm detecting energy patterns that haven't evolved or adapted. It's as if they've been using the same systems for thousands of years without innovation. Explain, Wright ordered. Nakamura brought up scans on the main display. Their weapons are incredibly powerful, but their targeting systems are relatively primitive. Their shields operate on a predictable resonance pattern, the same frequency across all ships. No redundancies, no adaptive algorithms. Lieutenant Commander Zara Hassan, tactical officer, leaned forward. If they are all using the same shield frequency, and it's static rather than adaptive, we might be able to modulate our weapons to penetrate them, Nakamura finished. Wright nodded. Engineer Ortega, can you make the necessary modifications to our weapons systems? Chief Engineer Gabriela Ortega's voice came through the comm. It'll take a few hours, but yes. We can create a phased harmonic that should destabilize their shield matrix at the point of impact. Get it done, Wright ordered. She turned to her bridge crew. The Valorians have existed unchallenged for 10 millennia. They've forgotten what it means to adapt, to evolve under pressure. But humanity, her eyes flashed, we were born in adversity. We've survived everything our world and our own nature could throw at us. Now we'll show these gods what that means. The Vanguard maintained its position, seemingly passive as the Velaean ship surrounded it. But inside, the crew worked feverishly. Engineering teams reconfigured weapons systems while Nakamura and Hassan analyzed every scrap of data on the alien vessels. Captain, Volkov said quietly, standing beside Wright's chair, if we're destroyed, Earth won't know what's coming. Then we'd better not be destroyed, she replied. Send a message to Earth Command. Priority Alpha. Include all our data on the Valorians. Hours passed. The Velaean ships maintained their formation, apparently content to wait, confident in their superiority. Modifications complete, Ortega reported from engineering. Tactical analysis finished, added Nakamura. I've identified what appear to be their command and control nodes. They are vulnerable points in their hull design. Wright stood, addressing the entire crew through the ship-wide comm. This is the captain. In a few minutes, we will engage an enemy that believes itself invincible. They call themselves gods. They've murdered our people and threatened our world. They expect us to kneel or die. She paused. But they've never met humans before. They don't know that our history is written by those who stood against impossible odds. Today, we add another chapter to that history. Stand ready. As she finished, Tactical Officer Hassan called out, Captain. The Valorians are powering up weapons. Target their lead vessel, aim for the command node. Fire when ready. The Vanguard's main cannons discharged, releasing pulsing blue-white energy that shifted in frequency as it traveled. When it struck the lead Velaean ship, the alien vessel's golden shields flickered, destabilized at the point of impact, and the beam punched through to strike their hull directly. The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as a section of the mighty alien vessel erupted in a cascade of explosions. Direct hit! Hassan exclaimed. Their shields are recalibrating, but slowly. All vessels, evasive pattern delta, Wright commanded. Continue targeting command nodes. The Vanguard moved with surprising agility for its size, dancing between the massive Velaean ships. The aliens responded with golden energy beams that, while devastating, often missed their mark or glanced off the Vanguard's rapidly adapting shields. They are not changing tactics, Volkov noted with surprise. They are still following the same attack pattern. They don't know how to fight an enemy that can hurt them, Wright realized. Hit them again. The battle continued, the single human warship weaving through their Velaean formation, striking with surgical precision. 3 alien vessels now drifted powerless, their command nodes destroyed. On the screen, Drusek appeared again, his galaxy-like eyes now swirling with fury. This is impossible. No lesser species has ever damaged a divine vessel. We're not lesser, Wright replied calmly. Just different. Stand down your fleet. Never. I will burn your. His image disappeared as the ship shook violently. What was that? Wright demanded. Unknown energy signature, Nakamura reported, his voice filled with awe. Massive. Something's coming through, it's like space itself is opening. A rift appeared between the battling ships, a tear in the fabric of reality from which emerged a vessel unlike anything they had ever seen. It dwarfed even the Velaean ships, its design organic yet mechanical, as if grown rather than built. Its surface shifted and changed as they watched, adapting to space around it. The effect on the Valorians was immediate. Their ships began retreating, breaking formation in what could only be described as panic. They are running, Hassan said in disbelief. On all frequencies, a message came, not in words but somehow directly into their minds: we are the observers. The children play with toys they do not understand. You have drawn our attention. The massive vessel seemed to focus its attention on the vanguard. You fight with tools of your own making. You adapt. You grow. This is rare and precious. Captain Wright stood. I am Captain Naomi Wright of Earth. We mean no harm. We only defended ourselves. We know. The Valorians found our abandoned technology millennia ago. They claimed divinity. They have not changed since. But you interest us. A small crystalline object materialized on the bridge, hovering in the air before Wright. She cautiously reached out and took it. Truth. Show the enslaved worlds. Break the false god's throne. With that enigmatic message, the observer vessel turned away, and in a pulse of energy that somehow felt benevolent, it vanished as mysteriously as it had appeared. In Wright's hand, the crystal glowed, and suddenly every mind on the bridge understood. The Valorians weren't gods. They had found abandoned technology from an ancient race, the observers, and rather than learning from it, had simply used it to conquer and enslave. Their entire empire was built on stolen power and lies. As the Vanguard's sensors tracked the fleeing Velaean ships, communications officer Ne called out, "Captain, I'm receiving transmissions from dozens of worlds in nearby systems. They saw the Valorians retreat. They are asking if the gods can bleed." Captain Wright looked at the crystal in her hand, then at the stars beyond the view screen, stars filled with worlds oppressed for millennia by false divinity. "Tell them," she said quietly, "that gods don't bleed. But tyrants do." Commander Volkov moved to her side. "Where to now, Captain?" Wright's expression was resolute. "We follow the Valorians. We use this truth," she held up the crystal, "to set the galaxy free." The UES Vanguard turned toward Velaean space, a single human warship about to shatter an empire of false gods. Igniting the revolution. The UES Vanguard moved silently through the darkness of space, trailing the retreating Velaean fleet at a safe distance. Captain Naomi Wright hadn't slept in 36 hours, but adrenaline kept her alert as she studied the crystalline object, the Keystone, as the crew had taken to calling it, in her ready room. "It's not just a data storage device," Finn Nakamura explained, his eyes reflecting the object's inner light. I don't even have the words for it. The observers designed it to interface directly with consciousness. It contains the true history of this sector, including how the Valorians found a crashed observer vessel 10 millennia ago. And instead of trying to understand the technology, they just used it to conquer," Wright finished. "Precisely. They've been coasting on stolen tech ever since, calling themselves gods while dozens of species suffer under their rule." The door chimed, and Commander Volkov entered. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission. Not Velaean, it's coming from a small vessel approaching from the nearby system." On the bridge, communications officer Priya now worked to clear up the incoming signal. "They are broadcasting on all frequencies, almost desperately." The view screen flickered to life, revealing a humanoid figure with smooth, pale blue skin and large, four-pupiled eyes. Intricate patterns that seemed to pulse with inner light covered its face and visible arms. "Human vessel," the alien spoke in halting English, clearly learned recently. I am Keldrin of the Tyrellian Resistance. We witnessed what no one has seen in 10,000 years, Vailian ships in retreat. Is it true? Have the gods been defeated? Captain Wright stepped forward. The Valorians aren't gods, Keldrin. They are just another species who found advanced technology and used it to dominate others. Keldrin's four-pupiled eyes widened. Many have whispered this heresy, but none have proven it. The punishment for such words is death. We can prove it, Wright said, holding up the keystone. May we meet with your resistance leaders. The Tyrellian star system was hidden behind a dense nebula, perfect camouflage for a resistance that had operated in shadow for generations. The vanguard followed Keldrin's small vessel to a hollowed-out asteroid that served as the Tyrellian resistance headquarters. Inside a chamber carved from stone, Captain Wright stood before 24 alien species, representatives of worlds subjugated by the Vailian Empire. Some looked nearly human, others were utterly alien, but all shared the same look of desperate hope mingled with skepticism. For 10 millennia, the Valorians have claimed divine right to rule, spoke an elderly Tyrellian with intricate luminescent patterns covering most of his body. I am Elder Javix. Why should we believe your words over 10,000 years of history? Wright placed the keystone on the table between them. You don't have to believe my words. See the truth for yourselves. The crystal activated, bathing the chamber in soft light. Information flowed directly into the minds of all present, not just facts, but experiences, memories preserved by the observers. They witnessed their Valorians as primitive beings discovering the crashed observer vessel, saw them stumbling upon technology they couldn't comprehend, watched as they used that power to subjugate neighboring worlds while proclaiming themselves gods. When the vision ended, the chamber remained silent for several heartbeats. Then, a cacophony of voices erupted: shock, anger, vindication. Silence. Elder Javix called, his voice cutting through the noise. His aged face showed a complex mix of emotions. If this is true, it is, confirmed a reptilian being with iridescent scales. I am Thozdar, keeper of our people's oldest memories. The patterns of truth in this crystal match our oldest legends, from before the time of gods. The Valorians are retreating to their core worlds, Wright explained. Their grand sovereign is in panic. For the first time in 10 millennia, they are vulnerable. The Empire is fracturing, but there's a narrow window to act before they regroup. What do you propose, Captain? Asked Javix. Alliance. Coordination. Revolution. Wright's voice filled with conviction. Earth will send ships to help, but this must be your fight too. You know these systems, these worlds. Together, we can free the galaxy from false gods. The plan formed rapidly. The resistance leaders knew of dozens of worlds where rebellion simmered beneath the surface, needing only a spark. The keystone could provide that spark, proof that the Valorians were mortal, fallible, frauds. Lieutenant Commander Zara Hassan stepped forward with a daring proposal. We need to spread the truth to every subjugated world simultaneously. I can lead small teams to key planets, using the Tyrellian shadow paths to avoid detection. Wright hesitated. Hassan was her tactical officer, and the mission would be extremely dangerous. But the fiery officer had infiltration experience from her time in Earth's special forces. I need volunteers who know the local systems, Hassan continued, addressing the resistance leaders. You will have them, Javix promised. Our shadows have moved unseen for generations. You have 48 hours to assemble your teams, Wright decided. The vanguard will create a diversion to draw Vailian attention while you deploy. Within 2 days, 12 stealth vessels departed the asteroid base, each carrying a human-alien team and a fragment of the Keystone's truth. Hassan led the most critical mission, infiltrating Valora Secondary, the administrative hub of the Empire's slave worlds. Meanwhile, the vanguard emerged from the nebula and brazenly entered a key Vailian supply route, drawing immediate attention from patrol ships. The human vessel's apparent confidence sent waves of confusion through Vailian ranks. Why would a single ship challenge them again? They are scrambling to respond, Volkov noted, watching sensor readings of Vailian movements. Their command structure is rigid, they can't adapt quickly to unexpected threats. Keep them focused on us, Wright ordered. Every moment they spend trying to figure out what we're doing is another moment for Hassan's teams to succeed. On Valoris Secondary, Hassan and her team, including Keldron and 3 other resistance fighters, moved through shadowy undercity passages. The sprawling metropolis above served as the administrative center where billions of slaves were processed, categorized, and shipped to serve throughout the empire. The central broadcast node is 2 levels up, Keldron whispered, pointing to maintenance shafts that led toward a massive spire in the city center. But the security is impenetrable. Hassan smiled grimly. Nothing is impenetrable. Sometimes you just need to create an opportunity. She activated her unit. Vanguard, we're in position. Time for Phase 2. Across the sector, the other infiltration teams reported similar progress. All waited for the signal. Aboard the Vanguard, Wright received the confirmations. Engineer Ortega, initiate the pulse. From the human ship erupted a precisely modulated energy wave, harmless to living beings but devastating to Valian systems. Their technology, unchanged for millennia, had no defenses against this targeted disruption. Throughout Valian space, their networks flickered and failed. On Valoris Secondary, even the vaunted security systems went dark for precious minutes. Move! Hassan ordered her team. They raced through the suddenly open passages, reaching the broadcast center as emergency systems struggled to activate. The team plugged their fragment of the keystone into the central node. Truth flooded the networks of 100 worlds simultaneously. Not as raw data that could be censored, but as direct consciousness-to-consciousness revelation that bypassed all filters. The true history of the Valorians, their theft of observer technology, their millennia of lies, all laid bare. On the Vanguard's bridge, Nakamura monitored the cascade of signals erupting throughout Valian space. It's working, Captain. The truth is spreading faster than they can contain it. Wright allowed herself a small smile. Send the signal to Earth Fleet. It's time for Phase 3. In high orbit above Valoris Secondary, Hassan's team fought their way back to their stealth vessel as chaos erupted below. Billions of slaves, servants, and lower-caste Valorians were learning the truth about their gods. Some reacted with disbelief, others with rage, but everywhere, the unquestioning obedience that had maintained the Empire was crumbling. Captain, multiple hyperspace signatures detected, announced Jian Wei from his sensor station. Earth Fleet has arrived. Through tiers in space emerged 20 human warships, the most powerful vessels Earth had ever built. They had launched the moment Wright's initial warning reached Earth, arriving just in time for the final phase. Admiral Hikaru Tanakar's face appeared on the view screen. Captain Wright, I see you've been busy. Earth has formally declared the Valian Empire a hostile power and authorized full military intervention. The resistance forces are rising on 43 worlds, Admiral, Wright reported. But the Valorians are regrouping. They are marshalling what's left of their fleet at Valorax Prime. Then that's where we'll finish this, Tanaka declared. All ships, form up around the Vanguard. Captain Wright knows these enemies better than anyone. The combined fleet, human warships alongside hastily armed resistance vessels, jumped to hyperspace, emerging near Valorax Prime. The Valian homeworld gleamed like a golden jewel, its surface dotted with crystalline cities that housed the ruling elite. Defending the planet was the remainder of the Valian fleet, still numerous, but disorganized, their rigid command structure fracturing under unprecedented crisis. Grand Sovereign Drusek's face appeared on all channels, his copper skin now dull with stress, the galaxy-like swirls in his eyes moving erratically. You dare approach the sacred throne world, he raged. I am divinity. I am eternal. You are nothing but vermin to be. You are fraud, Wright interrupted calmly. And your empire of lies ends today. The battle for Valorax Prime was brief but fierce. The Valorians fought with the desperation of those who had everything to lose, but their static tactics were no match for the adaptive human fleet and the passionate resistance forces. Hassan's voice came through as she led a strike team of former slaves and captured Valian fighters. These ships are powerful but sluggish, like they were designed for ceremonies, not actual combat. They never expected to fight a real war, Wright realized. They've been playing at being gods so long they forgot how to be soldiers. Within hours, the space around Valarax Prime was littered with disabled Valaian vessels. The resistance ships landed in key cities, where many Valorians, particularly younger generations and lower castes, were already rising against their leadership, having seen the truth in the Keystone's revelation. In the Grand Sovereign's palace, a structure of impossible beauty built with technology its inhabitants no longer understood, Captain Wright and Admiral Tanaka led a contingent of human and resistance leaders. They found Drusek not on his throne, but huddled in a secret chamber, surrounded by ancient artifacts stolen from the observer vessel millennia ago. The Grand Sovereign looked smaller somehow, diminished without his projection of divinity. "You've destroyed everything," he accused, clutching an observer relic whose purpose he had never bothered to learn. 10,000 years of divine rule. Of lies and enslavement, Wright corrected. "It's over, Drusek. Your empire has fallen." "What will you do?" he asked, fear finally visible in his galaxy eyes. "Destroy us as we would have destroyed you." Admiral Tanaka stepped forward. "That's the difference between us. We're not here to destroy, but to liberate, even the Valorians from their own lies." In the weeks that followed, representatives from all affected worlds, including reformed Valaian factions, gathered on a neutral space station constructed by Earth engineers. The Galactic Concordat they formed established new principles for interstellar relations, mutual respect, technological exchange, an absolute prohibition on claiming divine status or right to rule. The observer technology was studied openly, with breakthroughs shared among all member worlds. Valorians who embraced the new order found they had much to contribute once freed from their enforced stagnation. 3 months after the battle that changed the galaxy, Captain Naomi Wright stood on the observation deck of the Vanguard, watching stars that now held very different meanings. Commander Volkov joined her, offering a data pad. "The last of the slave worlds has been liberated," he reported. "The Concordat now includes 6 to 7 member species. And look at this," he showed her engineering schematics. "Tyrellian and human scientists working together have already improved our quantum drive efficiency by 300%. Wright smiled. "And to think the Valorians sat on this potential for 10 millennia, too afraid of losing power to actually progress." "There are still challenges," Volkov cautioned. "Some Valaian hardliners have gone into hiding. Several outer worlds remain in conflict. And we still don't know much about these observers or why they chose to intervene. Maybe they saw something worth saving," Wright mused, watching as a mixed crew of humans and former resistance fighters worked together on their hull below. "Not just us, but the potential of all these worlds working together instead of under someone's boot." Lieutenant Commander Hassan, recently promoted after her successful missions, joined them. "The Tyrellians have a saying, truth is the first light of freedom. What you did, Captain, was bring that light to worlds that had only known darkness for 10,000 years. What we did," Wright corrected. "One ship couldn't have changed the galaxy alone. But one ship started it all," Hassan insisted. "The Vanguard proved they could bleed. Everything else followed from that moment." As if on cue, the ship's sensors detected an unusual energy reading. Far in the distance, barely visible, the massive observer vessel appeared briefly, watching, perhaps evaluating, before vanishing again into whatever dimension they called home. Wright thought about the crystal they had given her, now stored in the Concordat's central archive as a reminder of both truth and possibility. The message was clear: power founded on lies would eventually crumble, but cooperation built on truth could reshape stars. "Set course for the Andromeda outpost," she ordered, returning to the bridge. "The Concordat Council has requested our assistance with their new defense network." As the Vanguard moved away from Valarax Prime, now just one planet among equals rather than the throne of gods, Captain Wright reflected on how quickly everything had changed. Empires that lasted millennia, beliefs held for generations, structures of power that seemed eternal, all had been undone in months. All it had taken was one human warship refusing to kneel. In the communication center, messages poured in from across the sector, newly freed worlds establishing contact, sharing knowledge, building connections that had been forbidden under Vailian rule. Species that had been deliberately kept isolated from each other discovered shared interests, complementary abilities, common dreams. Chief Engineer Ortega reported from engineering, where she worked alongside Tyrellian and reformed Vailian technicians. "Captain, you should see this. We've integrated observer principles with our quantum drive. The efficiency improvements are off the charts. We could reach the Andromeda outpost in hours instead of days. Implement the upgrades, right approved. But make sure the specifications are shared with all Concordat members." "Already done," Ortega confirmed with a grin. "That's standard protocol now." Science Officer Nakamura, who had been studying the observer technology with scientists from a dozen worlds, joined the captain on the bridge. "We've only scratched the surface of what's possible when species work together. The Valorians hoarded knowledge for power, we're sharing it for progress." As the Vanguard prepared to jump to hyperspace, a final transmission came through. Elder Javix appeared on screen, his luminescent patterns glowing with newfound vigor. "Captain Wright, before you depart, the Concordat Council wished me to convey our formal recognition. The UES Vanguard has been designated as Thronebreaker in our historical records, the ship that shattered 10 millennia of false divinity." Wright nodded in acknowledgement. "We're honored, Elder. But the true Thronebreakers were those who kept resistance alive through generations of oppression, waiting for their moment." Perhaps, the Elder Tyrellian conceded with what might have been a smile. But someone had to strike the first blow, to prove the gods could bleed. "Safe journey, Thronebreaker." The transmission ended, and Wright gave the order. The Vanguard jumped to hyperspace, leaving behind a galaxy forever changed, where beings once called lesser now stood as equals, where knowledge flowed freely between worlds, and where the throne of false gods lay empty, broken by a single human warship that refused to accept the impossible. In the depths of space, unseen by any sensors, the observer vessel watched. The experiment continued, and the results were fascinating.